Advanced Audit and Assurance. Continuation of Chapter 4. Liability in tort. Only the client company can sue the auditor in the law of contract because only the company has a contract with the auditor. Third parties who feel they may have suffered as a result of negligent auditing have to rely on a different branch of law, the law of tort. An important question is, to what extent can others rely on the civil law and bring an action of negligence against the auditors of a company? A tort can be defined as a civil wrong other than that arising under contract law, giving rise to a claim of damages. A civil wrong is wrongdoing that is not a criminal offense, but which allows the injured person to bring an account, a civil wrong is wrongdoing that is not a criminal offense, but which allows the injured person to bring an action in civil law against the wrongdoer. Negligence is just one of many branches of tort. Examples of other persons that may suffer loss because of an auditor's negligence and relying on financial statements that do not give a true and fair view are a bank that lends money to a company and the company subsequently defaults and fails to make payments of interest or repayment of the loan principal. A supplier who has given credit to the company whose debts have to be written off as bad. Another company who relies on the financial statements when deciding to make a takeover bid for the audited company. An investor who relies on the financial statement to buy shares in the company, and the share price falls when the true state of the company later becomes apparent. Making a successful claim for auditor negligence, law of tort. If a person is to make a successful claim against the auditor in the tort of negligence, three conditions must be satisfied. Negligence requires 1. A duty of care exists. 2. That duty is broken. 3. Loss or damages results. Condition 1. The auditor must owe a duty of care to the person who has suffered a loss due to the auditor's negligence. The existence of a duty of care has proved the most troublesome of the three conditions to establish in cases brought before the court. This is considered in more detail below. Condition 2. The duty of care must have been broken. The party bringing the claim against the auditor has to show that the auditor did not exercise a reasonable degree of care in the circumstances so that the duty of care was broken. A typical method used in court cases to prove that a duty has been broken is to call another firm of auditors as expert witnesses. The expert witnesses are asked to give their view on whether the audit was performed correctly. Condition 3. A loss or damage must result from breach of the duty of care. Proving that this condition has been met is usually a question of demonstrating that the person making the claim suffered a financial loss as a result of the negligent auditing. For example, if a bank lent money to a company on the basis of audited accounts that were subsequently found to contain material errors or omission, and the company subsequently defaulted on its loan, the bank can demonstrate a measurable financial loss. Establishing the existence of a duty of care, that is law of tort. Most of the major court cases on auditor negligence have been concerned with the question of whether the auditor owes a duty of care to the plaintiff. The plaintiff is the person making the claims for damages. The cases summarized below, taken from UK law, show how the view of the court on this question has developed over time since the 1950s. As mentioned earlier, these cases also form the common law precedent in Nigeria today. You should concentrate on the principles involved rather than the details of the cases. While some of the cases do not deal specifically with auditors, the principle established by the court is however applied by the court to auditors in similar situations. Illustration: Candler and Crane Christmas, 1951. In this case, Candler sued the accountant Crane Christmas when he lost money he has invested in a company. Crane Christmas has prepared the account, and it was alleged that they had been negligent in doing so. But were the accountants liable to Candler? The court's ruling was that although the accounts were negligently prepared, Candler could not recover his losses from the accountants because he did not have a contract with them. Therefore, in the 1950s, the legal view was that an auditor did not owe a duty of care to third parties who were not in a contractual relationship with the auditor. Illustration: Edla Bryan and Hiller and Partners, 1964. This is a case dealing with banks, but it was seen as relevant to all professionals, including auditors and accountants. The plaintiff, Edla Bain, lost money when a bank reference from the defendant, Hiller and Partners, a bank, turned out to have been negligently produced. The bank indicated in its reference that a mutual client was a good credit risk when this was not the case. The court ruled that although Edla Bain did not have a contract with the bank, Hiller and Partners, they could recover their losses due to the negligence and loss involved, because the bank knew the plaintiff by name. However, the bank did not have to pay any damages due to a general disclaimer in its letter that gave the reference, absolving it from any liability. This legal decision affected auditors because the court had decided that if a third party with whom the auditor did not have a contract could show that it relied on the work of an auditor, which later turned out to be wrong, the auditor might be liable for damages for negligence. However, this principle was only extended to plaintiffs that the auditor actually knew by name. Unidentified third parties were not able to claim against the auditor for negligence. Illustration: J.E.B. Fasteners and Max Bloom, 1980. In this case, the plaintiff acquired the share capital of a company. The audited accounts, due to the negligence of the auditors, did not show a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the company. It was accepted that at the time of the audit, the dependent auditors did know of the plaintiffs, but did not know that they were contemplating a takeover bid. Whilst recognizing that the auditors owed a duty of care in this situation, the court decided that the auditor were not liable because the plaintiff had not actually suffered any loss. It was proved that the plaintiff would have bought the share capital of the company at the agreed price, no matter what the account of the company had shown. Illustration 4. Caparo Industries and Dickman and Tosh, Rose & Co., 1989. This is seen as a leading case in English law in the area of to whom does the auditor owe a duty of care. Fidelity plc was taken over by Caparo Industries. Fidelity's accounts had been audited by Tosh Rose. Caparo alleged that the accounts overstated the profit of Fidelity plc and that they had relied on the audited accounts of Fidelity when deciding to purchase shares in the company and make a takeover bid. The court held that a duty of care was not owed to potential investors in a company. Persons making a takeover bid because of a lack of proximity, that is, a lack of closeness of relationship between the auditor and the potential investor, and the fact that it would not be just and reasonable to impose a duty on the auditor to such investors. In the case above, the court identified the auditor's function as being to protect the company itself from errors and wrongdoing, not to protect the shareholders of the company from error, and to provide shareholders with information such that they can scrutinize the conduct of the company's affairs and remove or reward those responsible, that is, the directors. The auditor does not exist to aid investment decisions. Out-of-court settlements. Large claims against auditors in high-profile cases such as Enron receive a high level of publicity. Many other cases are not widely publicized, often because they are settled out of court. This involves the parties who are in dispute reaching a negotiated settlement rather than taking their case to court. The advantages of out-of-court settlement are that 1. It avoids the cost and time involved in a court case. 2. It may avoid adverse publicity for the auditor. 3. The final settlement may be lower because both sides save legal costs and the plaintiff might agree to a lower settlement to avoid the cost and the risk of losing the case. The disadvantages of out-of-court settlements are that 1. The final responsibility may be left undecided, so the legal position remains unclear. 2. It may encourage others to take action against auditors. 3. Insurance premium may rise. Example: an audit firm has been the auditor of entity AZ for a number of years. Its audit team has recently discovered that during that time, the managing director of AZ has been consistently overvaluing inventories. Entity B has recently purchased a major stake in entity AZ, relying on the audited financial statements to do so. Required: what possible defense might the audit firm use if it is sued by entity B after a successful takeover? The audit firm can claim that it did not owe a duty of care to entity B. If the audit work has been performed to expected standards, the firm should be able to claim that the audit work was performed with diligence and care and in accordance with ISAs. The audit work could not reasonably have detected the fraud given its nature and the seniority of the individual committing the fraud. The firm might also be able to claim that entity B has suffered any financial loss as a result of its reliance on the audited financial. The firm might also be able to claim that entity B has not suffered any financial loss as a result of its reliance on the audited financial statement. Use of disclaimers in audit reports. A disclaimer is not a requirement of an audit report, but some audit reports include one. A disclaimer states that the auditor's report is intended for use of the company and the company's shareholders as a body, and no responsibility is accepted by the auditor to anyone except the company or the shareholders as a body for the content of the report. The purpose of a disclaimer is to reduce the risk of legal claims by third parties against the auditor for negligence. The main problem with a disclaimer, however, is that in spite of the ruling in the Bannerman case, a disclaimer cannot guarantee protection for an auditor against third-party claims because the circumstance of each individual claim may be different. Subtopic 4. Managing the auditor's liability. Section 4.1. Avoiding liability. Clearly, it is preferable to avoid claims arising from negligent auditing. Firms can minimize the risk of being sued by ensuring that their staff perform high-quality audit work. Auditors should therefore follow appropriate auditing standards, use effective quality control procedures, train staff to an appropriate level of knowledge and skill, ensure that the firm is up to date with modern auditing methods. Section 4.2. Meeting claims, professional indemnity insurance. If successful legal claims are made, or if out-of-court settlements are reached where the audit firm agrees to make a payment to settle the dispute, the auditor will have to pay damages. If the damages are so large that they are more than the firm can afford, the law in some countries may also allow claims to be made against the personal assets of partners of the audit firm. The threat of very high claims for damages beyond the financial means of the audit firm applies to the major audit firms as well as smaller firms. The professional accountancy bodies take the view that the image of the profession would be seriously damaged if claims awarded against auditors and accountants are not met because of a lack of financial resources. As a result, professional bodies often require members in practice to carry professional indemnity insurance, PII. PII is an insurance policy that provides cover against all civil liabilities that are incurred as a result of the conduct of the firm's business. Money is paid out by the insurance firm on these policies if the firm itself is unable to pay. However, the requirements for compulsory PII has the following disadvantages. 1. It may increase the frequency and size of claims made against firms, which are seen to have large amounts of funds at their disposal to meet claims. 2. It may encourage more careless auditing. 3. It imposes a high cost on audit firms. These costs of insurance are likely to increase as the general level of legal claims rises. Section 4.3. Limiting liability. Because of the high cost of legal claims and professional indemnity insurance, a number of suggestions have been made for finding other ways of limiting claims against auditors. 1. One suggestion is that there should be a statutory limit on claims, either a maximum percentage of the audit fee or a maximum fixed amount. 2. Another suggestion is that auditors should be permitted to agree a cap, that is limit, on their liability with their clients, so that a company cannot make a claim against its auditors for more than the agreed amount, that is the cap. This is now permissible in the UK, where a company and its auditors can agree to a specified monetary sum as a ceiling or use a formula. 3. The use of limited liability partnerships, whereby an audit firm that is structured as a limited liability partnership cannot lose more than its total fixed capital. This is similar to limited liability for companies. 4. The use of the equivalent of PII for directors of client companies. This may expose the directors of companies to legal actions by other parties rather than the audit firm, because the plaintiffs will know that the directors can afford to pay any successful claims for negligence. 5. Including disclaimers of liability to parties other than the company and its shareholders in the auditor's reports. Subtopic 5. Chapter review. Before moving on to the next chapter, check that you now know how to explain what the expectation gap is and how it arises, applying the provision of ISA 240. Describe whether an auditor's liability may arise, that is both criminal and civil, and explain how it can be managed. Quick quiz questions. 1. Which one of the following statements is correct? A. An auditor has no responsibility at all for detecting fraud in an audit client. B. An auditor has the main responsibility for detecting fraud in an audit client. C. An auditor has the responsibility for detecting fraud in a client company if it might cause a material misstatement in a financial statement. D. An auditor has the responsibility for fraud in an audit client only if the audit procedures discover fraud. Answer is C. Management has the main responsibility for preventing and detecting fraud in their company. However, the auditor has a responsibility to give an opinion on the financial statement, and if undiscovered fraud would lead to a material misstatement, the auditor therefore has the responsibility to discover the fraud. Question 2. Directors of a company may assign one or more of their responsibility with regard to the financial statement, internal control and risk management to A. Audit Committee, Internal Audit, Legal Department, Risk Committee. B. Audit Committee, External Specialist, Internal Audit. C. Internal Audit, External Specialist, Risk Committee. D. Internal Audit, External Audit, Audit Committee. Answer is A. Directors may assign responsibility to particular departments within their company. They may not assign the responsibility to external parties such as external experts or external auditors. Question 3. Which of the following statements are correct? 1. Error and fraud may both be deliberate. 2. Fraud is deliberate, but error is unintentional. 3. Both error and fraud may be criminal activities. 4. Fraud is a criminal activity, but error is not. Options. A. Statement 1 and 3 are correct. B. Statement 1 and 4 are correct. C. Statements 2 and 3 are correct. D. Statements 2 and 4 are correct. The answer is D. Errors might give rise to legal action in the civil court, but is not deliberate by definition, and it is not a criminal activity. Question 4. Which of the following actions by an auditor would be a criminal offense if they were to occur? 1. Negligence in conducting an audit. 2. Insider dealing in shares of a client's company. 3. Acting as auditor without an appropriate professional qualification. Options. A. 1 and 2 only. B. 1 and 3 only. C. 2 and 3 only. D. 1, 2 and 3. Answer is C. Negligence by an auditor can lead to litigation and a claim from the injured party, e.g. the audit client. However, negligence is not criminal. Insider dealing and acting as an auditor without the professional qualification are criminal activities. Question 5. Which of the following measures might be taken by an audit firm in Nigeria to reduce the exposure to potential liability for negligence arising from a legal claim by the client company? 1. PII. 2. Including disclaimer of liability to parties other than the company and its shareholders in the auditor's report. 3. Resigning from the audit when any legal action is taken. Options: A. 1 only, B. 2 only, C. 3 only, D. 1, 2, and 3. The answer is A. While some countries allow disclaimers in the audit report, e.g. the UK, this is not yet the case in Nigeria. Resigning from the audit after negligence has occurred does not reduce the potential liability, as the breach of duty of care would already have occurred, whilst PII does not reduce the total claim liability. It would reduce the exposure of the auditor, since the insurance company would bear a portion of any damages awarded and the cost of defending a claim. That's the end of chapter 4. Thank you.